So this is Breck's Roadmap to Success video, and I just want to go over a few things that we chatted about during the session. So one of the first things we chatted about was just getting her to be more mentally stimulated, because she's a very smart dog and she's kind of trying to figure out her own ways. So some things that I recommend getting are a clicker, so we can do some clicker-based training, and then also one of those mats that might be called like a snuffle mat or something like that, where essentially you can hide a bunch of her food in the mat, and then you can let her work on that for breakfast. It'll be a great way for her to start off the day by just starting by being mentally stimulated, having to hunt for the food, because even if she can kind of get it and be really smart and know how to do it, it'll still take her time to work through the mat. Also remember to pick it up when you're not using it, so she doesn't get to the point where she destroys it because it's on the ground and she's associating it with food. The other thing I just want to throw in there is, with her having some dietary issues, I would highly recommend just using her dog food when you can as treats. That way you're not trying to introduce too many other things into her diet, just to keep her belly as healthy and good as possible. So with the clicker-based training, I want you to work on games. It's fun. Remember, you can kind of just take your hands, put it behind your back, have a little goal in mind like we did with the can of vegetables, and put it on the floor. See if you can get her to push it over by clicking as she gets closer and closer to doing what you want her to do. That will eventually turn into other games where you can train her to do all sorts of things with a clicker, and she gets to be stimulated because she's trying to figure out, like, what do you want? What are you looking for? What's the goal here? And it's fun, it's engaging, and it'll tire her out because she's using that mental energy. Now, as for jumping up and nipping at you guys when you're kind of trying to relax, the first thing I want you to do is try to ignore it. Remember, biggest thing, no eye contact when she's doing something inappropriate. So if she's jumping up at you, nipping at you, or barking at you, pawing at you, anything to demand your attention, ignore that behavior. Make sure you're rewarding the good behavior. So if she's coming over, sitting next to you, reward her. Pet her as quickly as you can to reward that she's being a good dog. We're essentially trying to flip the coin over. It used to be that she gets a lot of attention for bad behavior because she grabs something she shouldn't have and takes off, and then you're chasing her around, or she's jumping up at you and you're trying to push her down or kind of ignore her or walk away from her. All that stuff is kind of still fun for her because it turns into a game. So now we're going to try to ignore the bad behavior to the best of our ability while keeping her safe and making sure she's not destroying anything, and then rewarding her for all the good behavior. So asking her to sit more and petting her for things like that. But remember, if you're sitting in the chair and she keeps coming up to you, have that leash ready so you can kind of leash her so she doesn't lose control. If you reach for the leash, she takes off. Ignore it, let it go. Don't try to engage her, don't chase her, so you can put the leash on, because you're again letting her win by letting her turn this into a game of chase. If she keeps doing it, you can just grab her collar, put the leash on, and then step on it. Give her enough room to stand up comfortably so it's not pulling on her. We don't want to be creating a problem, and then wait for her to lay down and relax if you do leash her. Remember, overall, you can use the escalating consequences to disagree with her if she's jumping up on the counters, things like that. It's your new form of saying no. And then the petting with a purpose philosophy is to make sure that you're petting her, ask her to sit. Remember, if she's laying down, you don't have to ask her to sit, but petting with a purpose just means that you essentially want her to be in a position where you would say, good girl, like, and really mean it, and then you pet her. So that way you're rewarding all of that good behavior and using those positive associations. And if she's acting up, you don't want to pet her, because petting her is a reward-based system. And if she's being kind of naughty, you don't want to reward that behavior by petting her. So if she's barking at you, you don't want to pet her to kind of try to calm her down, as an example. Other things, for chewing, just try to redirect her attention. If she's trying to get into anything inappropriate, get her to chew on other toys. If she sees herself in the mirror and or not mirror, but any reflection, if she sees herself and doesn't bark at herself, reward her. Even if that means you just say, what a good girl, come here, and you reward that behavior so she gets used to seeing herself and catching herself kind of off guard in a reflection, and she's not barking and getting worked up. So just try to reward her when you see it happen before she gets worked up to that point. And then I'll refer you to the video above this one to watch how to work on her not jumping on guests when they arrive, using that clicker-based training to teach her again to kind of relax and look to you guys for direction instead. And then a few other things, the rules: we want to keep her off the furniture for the next 30 days or until she is doing desirable behaviors and the things that you called about are no longer an issue. And then asking her to sit before going through doorways. So when you go to take her outside to go to the bathroom, have her sit. Okay, so those are the different rules we want to incorporate. After 30 days, furniture with permission, meaning that you ask her to sit and then you invite her up. So she can go back on the furniture, but with permission only. And then last, I want to remind you that everything you do trains your dog, only sometimes you mean it.